Right, how's everyone doing? Good, I hope, Yeah, I hope you can see that, Sorry about the glare and all that. I'm doing my best, I'm just an amateur when it comes to these sort of YouTube videos. But yeah, I want to show you uh, every version of Doom that we now have on the Atari VCS, I don't love Doom, I hope you can see the t-shirt, I love Doom, And the original Doom is my favourite, So, here, wait a minute, 1 second. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, so yeah, Doom, Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I hope you can see the short. I love Doom. So, we'll do. So I'm gonna uh, play every version of Doom that I know of. You know. Now the only version of Doom that I can't play is Brutal Doom, which is a shame, But I say one day I'll figure out how to get that working, But for now, I'll show you every version of Doom that I do know how to play on my Atari VCS, and I think it's awesome, you know. Uh, we could play every console version of Doom, 32X, Super Nintendo, 3DO, Jaguar, PS1. Now, the only console version of Doom that I can't play is Doom for the Sega Saturn. Why, I don't know. But we could play every other version of Doom. Like I said, the 3DO, the Jaguar, the 32X. Hell, on the 32X you have Doom and you have Doom 32X Resurrection, Plus we could play, the PC version of Doom. So pretty awesome in my opinion. And yeah, so I love I love playing Doom on my Atari VCS, and um, which ones are the worst and which ones are the best, But it's all a matter of opinion, isn't it? Like I think that the PlayStation version is the best version of Doom for a console, and the worst I think is the Sega Saturn version, the 3DO version, or the Super Nintendo version. And so yeah, I'll have to do. Well, first off, I'm gonna go to store and see if the Atari 50th anniversary collection. No, nowhere. It's nowhere to be found. Yeah, so yeah, I'm gonna go to Chrome and play a bunch of Doom games, and it's awesome, But like I said, the only two versions that I can't play is the Sega Saturn version of Doom and Brutal Doom. But hopefully one day you'll be able to figure that out, So yeah, it's awesome, So and it's even hacks of Doom that we can play, like Ultimate Simpsons Doom and other hacks of Doom. So I'm gonna start with now. In my opinion, this site here, Retro Games Fun, is the best site to play Doom. If you want to play it on the SNES, 32X, the PlayStation, it's here, in my opinion. So I'm gonna start off with the Super Nintendo version of Doom, and this site is awesome. It's called Retro Games Fun. You have all the systems above there: Atari, Virtual Boy, Game Boy Advance. Yeah, Doom is even on the Game Boy Advance, But I'm going to start with the Super Nintendo version of Doom, and it's awesome, And we can play the games with the Atari VCS joystick, and pretty cool. And so I have Doom there for the Super Nintendo, and it just takes a few seconds to load. and awesome, playing out, and awesome in my opinion. You just go full screen, and yeah, Doom for the Super Nintendo. We thought it was pretty good for the time, like, Doom on the Super Nintendo. Yeah, it's pretty cool, like, The only thing is that the PlayStation version of Doom was right around the corner, and it was just a better version of the game, like, But Doom on the Super Nintendo, I mean, I thought it was good, and the music was good and all, like, so and it works well with the VCS joystick, and pretty cool. The only thing is there's no texture on the ceiling or on the floor, but it's still Doom on the Super Nintendo, and it runs good enough, like, in my opinion, it runs better than the Sega Saturn version. The fact that like this version of Doom, it has a constant frame rate, it stays the same. And I think on the Super Nintendo, Doom was running at around 25 frames per second or something, or 20 frames. But it's constant, it doesn't get any worse than this, which is awesome if you think about it. And thanks to the FX chip, it enables the Super Nintendo to do 3D rendering, like, and it's pretty good in my opinion. And the other thing is the enemies are always facing at you, like, so you can't make the enemies attack each other or anything like that. So, but it's still Doom, and the whole game is intact, which is good, like, in my opinion. Yeah, so yeah, Doom on the Super Nintendo, it gets a lot of hate, but I like it. I mean, it's playable. It's just like there's no save function. You can't save a game, and there's no password system. So you have to beat the whole game in one go, you know what I mean? Which is strange, because the PlayStation version had passwords, and which is strange. I think the 32X version is the same. I don't think there's a password system to that either. But on the Super Nintendo, you had to beat the whole game in one go, which is strange, because some Super Nintendo games have a battery backup where you can actually save your progress onto the cartridge, but it's not present here for whatever reason. I think maybe because they really want to get this game out to sell it, so they just skipped on the battery backup, Because with Super Metroid, you can save your information onto the cartridge, same as Zelda and all that, But everyone was rushing to get Doom out because they knew that it'd sell, so maybe if the Super Nintendo version got more time, they would probably have texture on the floor and the ceiling. There'd be a password system or some sort of save feature. But another problem with Doom on the Super Nintendo version, there's no deathmatch mode or cooperative, which is one of the main selling points behind Doom. For back in the day, you could play deathmatch or team deathmatch or cooperative mode, but that's not present either, But like I said, I still like the game. It's for me personally, it's not the worst version of Doom, because it has the frame rate stays constant, the controls are good, the music's good, and the whole game is intact. Well, the single player game anyway. Now some people say that in this version of Doom, you can get stuck on the walls, and it's strange, but that has never happened to me, And I'm playing on the Atari VCS, and it plays greatly, And in my opinion. Yeah, so what do you guys think? Is Doom on the Super Nintendo the worst version, or is it somewhere in the middle? I think it's somewhere in the middle. It's not the worst, considering that it's the Super Nintendo. But it was one of the last versions to come out, so And like I said, the PlayStation version was right around the corner. It was just far superior in every way. So, we, now, Williams did the European version of Doom for the Super Nintendo, same as the PlayStation version. So I think they did the Super Nintendo version, then they did the PlayStation version. Where I think Ocean did the American version. I'm not sure really, you know. I don't know, so Ocean did Doom for the Super Nintendo and Williams, you know. I think Ocean did the European version because Ocean is a UK game developer, whereas Williams I think is American. So I think this is actually the American version of Doom. But both games are identical. It's just that one Ocean did one version, Williams did another version. This version is Williams' version. But it's awesome when they have to play these games, play different versions of Doom on the Atari VCS. Which that's the Super Nintendo version, you know. So I'm gonna choose the Atari Jaguar version now, you know. So it's cool. You just click Atari Jaguar up there, and all the games come up. You know, there's Doom right there for the Atari Jaguar. Now, Doom for the Jaguar came out in '94, and this is one of the first. I think it is the first console version of the game. I think, and John Carmack, I believe, developed the Atari Jaguar version himself, which is why I think it runs so well on the Atari Jaguar. You know, now this is far superior to the Super Nintendo version in the fact that it has texture on the floor and the ceilings. I believe it has deathmatch mode and all. But yeah, but the only thing that's missing is that in between the levels there's no music, you know. But you see, it's much better, you know. Now it runs slightly slower than the Super Nintendo version, but yeah, this has co-op mode and deathmatch mode, whereas on the Super Nintendo all you have is single player. And in this game, it saves your progress onto the cartridge. You know what I mean? So it has that over the Super Nintendo version, and it has the nightmare difficulty, same as the Super Nintendo version. Now this one runs slightly slower than the Super Nintendo version, but as you see, it's fully textured and stuff, and there's no music, so you know. But I think this is a better version of Doom just because it has all the textures and yeah. But what do you guys think? And it runs full screen more. Whereas the Super Nintendo version's like in a small box or something. But yeah, John Carmack, he's the programmer behind the original Doom the PC, and he did this for the Atari Jaguar. And yeah, no music, but like if you have like Slayer or Iron Maiden on a disc or something, you can play that along to the game or something, you know. But yeah, I think it's awesome that we can play every console version of Doom on my Atari VCS. And well, I think the controls in the Super Nintendo version are better in the fact that it's easier to switch weapons. Because on Doom on the Super Nintendo, just one button to change weapons and that's it, you know. Whereas in this, see, the Atari Jaguar controller had a big keypad, something like 9 keys, and those 9 keys are, each button is for a different weapon. Now the Atari VCS controller doesn't have enough buttons, so I can't choose all the weapons easily, you know. So like, see gun number 2, that's the handgun. But if I pick up the shotgun, I have to go into controller settings and pick a different button to change a specific weapon. Whereas in the Super Nintendo version, the Y button could just scroll through all the weapons really fast. But in this, I have to choose. Let's say for gun number 3 be the shotgun, I'll choose Y for the shotgun, but I have Y as the forward button also. So what I'm saying is the Atari VCS controller doesn't have enough buttons to change the weapons, which is awkward. You know, now if we had a Jaguar controller that has enough buttons, you know. So the Super Nintendo version the Super Nintendo version has better controls, and the fact that we can change weapons easier, because the Super Nintendo controller has the same buttons as a VCS controller, except it doesn't have triggers. But you don't need triggers for the Super Nintendo version, and you don't need triggers for this one either. So what do you guys think? You know, like which version is better, like the Super Nintendo version or the Atari Jaguar version? I think like this is the first time I've actually played them back to back, one right after the other, and the Super Nintendo version just seems better. Like, you know what I mean, to me, just has all the textures, yeah. But that's my opinion, like, you know. And at the time when Doom came out for the Jaguar, it was more expensive than Doom on the Super Nintendo. It was in Dublin anyway, and for back in the day, back in the day, you could get a Super Nintendo and Doom for around 150 quid. But if you want to get a Jaguar and Doom, you're talking over 220. And that's if you could find a Jaguar and Doom, because in Dublin it was all about Nintendo and Sega mainly. There was very little Atari stuff, and no one ever heard of the Atari Jaguar back in the day, or Doom. So like, I couldn't, I say back in the day, if we even wanted to get a Jaguar with Doom, we couldn't get one, you know, because the shops wouldn't sell it, like, you know, because Atari was pretty much done and dusted, like, you know. So, you know, would you pay 220 for a Jaguar console and Doom, or would you choose the Super Nintendo version? You know, we'll choose the Super Nintendo version. I mean, honestly, you know, this has all the textures, yeah, and the enemies are more animated, whereas in the Super Nintendo version they're all just facing naturally, you know. But the Super Nintendo version is cheaper, it plays well, the controls are better, we think. Because the Jaguar controller had that big number pad, there's not enough buttons on the VCS controller. Now, we could use the keyboard if we wanted to, which is cool about the Atari. That's what's cool about the Atari VCS. But if we didn't have the keyboard, we wouldn't be able to switch weapons, not all of them anyway. You know, we could switch to the shotgun and then maybe back to the handgun. You know, so that's it, like, you know, in my opinion. Yeah, but dealing with the Jaguar, it's not bad. I mean, on a natural Atari Jaguar, yeah, you have enough buttons and stuff, but you're paying more for it, you know. Even nowadays on eBay, to get a Jaguar console and Doom, it's going to cost you more than getting a Super Nintendo and Doom, you know. I just think like the Jaguar is more rare and they're hard to find, and there's more Super Nintendos and Doom out there for the Super Nintendo. That's my opinion and my experience, like, you know. So yeah, but I think it's awesome that we can play these games, like every console version of Doom on my Atari VCS, you know, and it's awesome, I find. And it's a good way to see which version of Doom is the best. So if you actually want to decide to get the actual console and Doom, you can decide for yourself which one is better, like the Super Nintendo version or the Atari Jaguar version, you know. But now that I've played the Super Nintendo version and now this version, I'd pick the Super Nintendo version. It's cheaper and it plays just as well and has better controls, you know. So that's the Jaguar version, right? So now we're gonna go to the PlayStation version of Doom, which I think is the best version. This site is awesome. It's called RetroGames.fun. There's the PlayStation. There's the PlayStation, and just type in Doom in the search bar, and yeah, this is by far the best console version of Doom. The Sony has fun with Doom and Doom, but I'm gonna go to Doom, like, you know. And we'll show you this and then end the video because it's probably getting pretty long, like, you know. We'll do the other console version of Dooms later on, maybe, you know. But this is the PlayStation version. I think by far it's the best version, and out of them all, this is the one would recommend. Now, look, I said for some reason I can't play the Sega Saturn version, and Brutal Doom is out of my reach at the moment, you know. But yeah, Doom on the PlayStation is awesome. It's like back in the day, you know, I was gonna get Doom for the Super Nintendo, but my friend Chris had Doom on his PlayStation, and it was decided to wait and saved it. It was saved up my money to get a PlayStation and Doom, you know. So it was like a Doom on the PlayStation. This is the game that we want to get a PlayStation, you know. And I still have it. It's an awesome game, and it works great on the Atari VCS. Has the title music and all, like, you know, which is awesome, you know. I think that's great title music, you know. Whereas other emulators, they have the title screen, but there's no music in it, you know. But this is by far like the best console version still, in my opinion, dealing with the PlayStation. Ultra violence, it just runs the best, looks the best, and best controls. And it has the PlayStation controller has the same amount of buttons as the VCS controller, so it's perfect in my opinion. And this has deathmatch mode and cooperative mode. But you actually have to have 2 PlayStations and 2 televisions, which is, well, it's there, like, you know. And this has cool echo effects and lighting effects, as you see, and it's just awesome. And it has more enemies, because I believe this is based on Ultimate Doom, you know. But the PC version is by far still the best version of Doom. But when it comes to consoles, the PlayStation, I think, is still the best version. You know, one's the best, looks the best. It's just a whole lot of fun, like, you know. And I prefer the old Doom over the new Doom games. Some of the new ones that came out by Bethesda in 2016 or something. It's just a better game, in my opinion. Because in this Doom, it feels like you're on a journey to get off Mars alive, you know. And all these demons are out to stop you. Whereas in the new Doom, it just feels like you're in an arena. The door is locked, you kill a bunch of demons, then the door opens and you move on to the next arena. That's what it feels like, you know. It doesn't feel like you're actually on an epic long journey to get off Mars, you know. That's what it feels like. And the thing I love about the old Dooms, if you kill the guys, their bodies stay in the ground, you know. And if you get a bunch in their barrels of radioactive waste and explodes, they explode, you know, and their guts stay there. Or if you kill a bunch of enemies and the door crushes them, it crushes them, and you see a big bloody mess. Like, see the big bloody mess, stuff like that, like, you know. Whereas the new Doom, you rip fellas apart and everything disappears as if nothing happened, like, you know. So anyway, it's still a good game, the new Doom, but I just prefer this, you know, because this holds up, if you know what I mean. Whereas the new Doom to me doesn't, like, you know, for some reason just doesn't. And Doom Eternal got a lot of hype, and I was really looking forward to Doom Eternal, but I was just bored with the game. And it has these awkward jumps in the game that takes nearly 10 minutes to get past, and it just pisses me off, like, you know. Because it brings the game to a halt, because you have to make these awkward jumps. It's like something like you see out of a platform game, you know, like, you ever played a platforming game and you come across one of those awkward bleeding jumps and it takes all day to get over it. It's like that, like, it brings everything to a halt in Doom Eternal. And same story, you kill the enemies and everything disappears, like their bodies disappears as if nothing happened. Now I know why that happens, like to clear up memory and to keep the frame rate, but I don't know, like, but Doom on the PlayStation is still the best in my opinion. And it was really, I saved my money back in the day to get Doom on the PlayStation. The Doom was the reason why I wanted to get a PlayStation, and I still have it upstairs. But it's awesome without to play it on my Atari VCS. I don't have to dig out the PlayStation and anything like that. It's awesome, and it works well with the VCS controller. because it has this pain elemental. Now, this guy wasn't in the other versions of Doom. The other console versions of Doom. He spits out lost souls and all. It's a deadly game. It's brilliant. You know, and this site, retro games, that fun. It's the site to go to. You know, especially if you want to play console versions of Doom. But it has every other system, Virtual Boy, you name it. You know, so awesome stuff. So that's the PlayStation version of Doom. It's awesome in my opinion, and it's awesome being able to play these games on the Atari VCS. So we'll end the video there. I'll do other console versions later on, like the Game Boy Advance and the 3DO, the 32X. So I hope everyone has a good day. Take care, bye bye.